Once upon a dream, I built a boat, but I had to teach her how to float. Once she learned real well. She had a sail, she had a bell. I rang her bell, I raised her sail. I took her out in a full force gale. Then she sank, so I had to swim. Swam into a fish named Jim. Jim said, "Joe, you're mighty brave, but I think you ought to catch that wave." So I caught a wave, I surfed ashore to a place I'd never been before, where the trees were purple, the grass was blue, the sky was bright, and the folks was too. They took me in, they made me king, a crown, a throne, and everything. They said, "Oh sire, what's your desire?" I said, "Let me sit here by your fire, so I can warm my toes and contemplate just what it is that makes life great." When I was through, I said, "Okay, so what can I do to make your day?" They said, "Oh king, we must concede that we've got everything we need, and we've just learned to spread it round, so peace and love and joy abound." I said, "What a concept. I must roam so I can tell all the folks back home." I sprouted wings, I flew away. I just got back the other day, and I told everyone I knew about the purple trees and the grass of blue, and the happy, bright folk that I had found. They said, "Man, all this time we thought you'd drown, but now we know you're just insane. 'Cause anyone with half a brain knows that peace and love and joy, they're just ideas, and fear and war, that's the way it is. Yeah, it's always been, and it always will." I said, "Well, in your dream, it's that way still, but in mine, I'm building me a boat. And once I've taught her how to float, I'm gonna ring her bell and raise her sail and take her out in another gale. And maybe I'll get lucky twice, wind up back in paradise." Well, I know that sounds like fantasy, but that's just where I long to be, and maybe it's just in my mind. But someday soon I know I'll find it everywhere I journey to, and I know I'll wind up there with you. I know I really do. I know I'll wind up there with you. Once upon a dream, once upon a dream, once upon a dream, once upon a dream, once upon a dream. Thank you. Thank you. I chose it because it had water in it.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And totally on theme, as so very often happens. Good. Is that yours?
Yes.
That is so awesome. And that some more love. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Purple palm trees and bluegrass? Yeah. Awesome.
Could be Kentucky, I think.
Right. Yes, I actually.
The title of that song was Once Upon a Dream.
Once Upon a Dream. Love that. Wow. Well, greetings again, everybody, and welcome. Great to see you all this morning. Our theme for 2022 is living in the mystery. And I'd like for us to think about that word mystery and expand it to the sacred, I don't know. How often do we allow ourselves to say, I really want that. I want that, but I've never done it before. I've never been there before. I've never eaten it before. I've never drunk it before. I've never had it before. I don't know how to do it, so I'll just not and stay in my zip code. Or do we allow ourselves to live in the mystery? This month we're talking about nature, and my topic for this morning is the water of life, expanding that to be living in the mystery and going with the flow. So I'm glad you're with me today. So water. This thing called life is just the most amazing adventure, and I'm sure that you will agree with me at one level or another, and continuously and on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings and throughout the week I am reminded of that. But thinking of water, I was reminded of the Tao Te Ching, which is the writings of Lao Tzu from the 6th century. It is absolute total new thought. So even though we say this is new thought, it really is old news, except that it's been one of the better kept secrets. So I remember there's a piece in the Tao Te Ching about water. And I'm looking in my books at home and I can't find it. And I can't find it. And I really want to quote this and I can't find it. So I'll mention it, but I won't be able to exactly quote it. So come to church this morning, sitting in Reverend Suzette's office, getting ready for everything, and the still small voice says, "Look on the bookshelf." My copy that I donated back when I donated some old books a couple of years ago, and I can tell because it's my chicken scratch that's noted here. So listen to what he writes about water. Under heaven, nothing is more soft and yielding than water. Yet for attacking the solid and strong, nothing is better. It has no equal. The weak can overcome the strong. The supple can overcome the stiff. Under heaven, everyone knows this, yet no one puts it into practice. And if you're familiar with the writings of the Tao Te Ching, you know that he talks a lot about economy and about war and about battles and that sort of thing. But consider water and the experience of nature related to water and how, and I'll use the example of the Rocky Mountains because back in the day we used to spend a lot of time in Vail, Colorado. And if you've ever been, it's absolutely amazing in the winter and even more amazing in the summer because you don't have to put on your mucklucks and you don't have to dig the car out. It's green and absolutely gorgeous, and the wind through the aspen trees and all of that. But consider the rain, the snow that falls on top of Vail Peak at 17,000 feet or 7,000 feet or whatever it is. So the snow falls and it does its thing and then it starts to melt and it flows down the mountain and it needs to get to the ocean, because that's what snow does, is it melts and works to get to the ocean. And if there's not a way, it flows this way and flows this way and flows this way and creates the Shoshone River, which flows through Vail and through Glenwood Springs and into Utah and into Nevada and Arizona and ultimately into the ocean. It starts the way. It starts to build the way and creates the way and just keeps flowing until it reaches its final destination. It flows over stone. It flows over the hardest surfaces like Lao Tzu talks about. And it just slowly but surely wears that down, and those really hard surfaces wind up being rivers and streams and Grand Canyon. And so it is with us. It knows it needs to get, somehow it knows that it needs to get to the ocean, and it goes in that direction. Do we allow ourselves, when we have that calling, that divine discontent, that urge, do we allow ourselves to continue to flow in that direction, or do we get waylaid and concerned about that we don't know how to do it, and so we decide not to? Bruce Lee, the fighter, said, "Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friends." So think of water, our experience of water, and how it shows up in our lives. It can be liquid. It can, in your glass, it can be solid as an ice cube, or it can be water vapor and the clouds. But each of those different forms, it's still the essence, which is water. So it is with us. We're wives and husbands and children and parents and workers and ministers and practitioners and all of those things and all those labels that we wear, but the essence of us and the truth of us is that we are the essence, expression, and experience of Spirit. No matter what we're doing, no matter what we're appearing as, that truth of us does not change. So the water starts on the mountains, flows to the sea, gets evaporated up into the clouds, goes back to the mountains, snows, and it continues, and it continues. So in this thing called life, we start where we are, in the mountains, for example, and decide what our destination is, and then begin that process of not making it happen, but allowing it to happen. In my Tuesday night class last month, one of the weeks we talked about setting goals. And the difference between a goal, which is cleaning out the garage, emptying the dishwasher, taking the dog for a bath, getting the oil changed in the car, those are goals, versus dreams of doing, being, and having, especially something we've never done, been, or had before. Because a goal is something we can pretty much figure out how to do. A dream is that wonder. It's that sacred, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work out. I know how this is going to work out. I don't know how this is going to manifest for me, but I absolutely know that it's going to, keeping in mind that the how is none of our business. Because when we state our intention, when we say, and so it is, after we do our spiritual mind treatment, the universe has no choice but to begin that process for us. Do we allow ourselves to go out on a limb and have that dream and say, yes, I want that, and absolutely know that somehow, some way, we go out on the limb and spirit grows a tree to support the limb? Or do we limit our dreams to what really more look like our goals? Interesting question for us. We say at the end of our spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer, we say, and so it is. And and that's amen. Absolutely knowing that that's true for us, period, the end. Works for us in our lives, in every area of our lives, and for everybody the same way all the time. We might assign a level of difficulty. Well, I can do a parking place, and we talked about this, I think, last Tuesday night. I can manifest a parking place all day long, but a new job, a new relationship, a new car, a new whatever feels like heavy lifting. And I'm not sure God's up to that. Can we be? Of course we can. But sometimes we need to work on ourselves to allow that to happen. This thing called life is so wonderful because we get to interact and spend time with and love and deal with other people. And it would be so much easier, and I bet this has been your experience as well, that if other people would just do what we want them to do, it would be so much easier. You know, spouses and children and parents and employers and employees and dogs and just cats and just everybody that we interact with. It would be so much easier if everybody just cooperated. But alas, that does not happen. And if you've had the experience of that happen, if you've had the experience of that experience, if you had the experience of someone making their transition or a change, a heart-breaking change, whether it's a death or a divorce or a something happening, you know, and if you've not been through it before, that's terra incognita. You might have heard that expression before. It was used back in the exploration days of the map. So they draw the map, and on this part of the map, it's terra incognita. We've never been there before. It's unknown territory. Sometimes we go into unknown territory. But as we do that, it's so important for us to remember that we never walk alone. I've never done this before. I don't know how to create a new life. I don't know how to forgive this. I don't know how to experience this. But we know that we're always divinely guided and led to whatever we need to know. Allowing ourselves to experience this and walk through it requires releasing control very often. Don't tell anybody, but I have a thing about control. And I need to know, especially I need to know where I'm going, what I'm doing, what time I'll get there, what time I'm finished. I need a rental car. If I'm leaving town, I need a rental car. I need car keys in my pocket or someplace. I need to do that. We traveled from Brooklyn, New York, from the cruise ship terminal in Brooklyn across the North Sea to Southampton outside of London several years ago. And so we flew and I am completely, totally, and entirely out of my comfort zone because we flew to LaGuardia in New York City, were picked up on a bus, taken to the ship, went across the North Sea, got to a foreign country, were picked up by a van and taken to the hotel in London. And my ego is like, okay, but what if, and what if, and what if they don't, and what are we going to do? And the still small voice kept getting not quite so still and not quite so small, and finally said to the effect, for the love of God, it either works or it doesn't. It either works or it doesn't. And of course, it was an amazing trip, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I learned the lesson and continue to learn the lesson, and as we do, that it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know, but yet I know that whatever it is going to work out better than I could have happened, that I could have imagined. I don't know. I'm not an active participant other than holding the light and knowing that my river is going to make it to the ocean because I've stated my intention and I know that that's going to happen. So we do our goal-setting work. We do our dream-setting work. We say, and so it is, but do we limit ourselves to what we've done before, where we've been before, or do we say, this is what I really want, I have no idea how it's going to happen, I'm in the river and the river is flowing and there's no river down there because I've never done this before, but I know somehow, some way that I'm going to flow and wind up at my destination. To do that requires courage. One of my favorite books is Forgiveness and Other Acts of Love by Stephanie Dowrick, and she writes about courage as an act of love. And I want to skip, there we go. Courage comes out of and expresses love. This love may be intensely personal or individual, but it is just as likely to express a commitment to the belief that life itself is something marvelous, precious, worth having, worth living fully, and in 10,000 ways, worth living for. Courage can be patient, a silent tenant in your heart that doesn't stir until it's needed, but that is only one face of courage. It is also energetic, daring, playful, imaginative, and creative. No work of art is created without it, no feat of invention or exploration, no sporting success, no justly negotiated settlement. That's one of the reasons we dream about it, admire it, idealize those people who seem to personify it, and wish we could have more of it ourselves. What would I say yes to? What would I choose? There's a song, If I Were Brave. Remember that? That's such a great song. What would I say yes to? What is my heart calling me to? And what would I do if I were brave, if I had that courage? It's about leaving the job that we hate, maybe before we got a new one, while trying to figure out and choosing to learn what it is that we hate about that so that we don't take that experience into the new job. Ever done that before? Yep, because we take, of course, wherever we go, there we are. So we take ourselves with us. So we need to determine what it is about this job that's making me crazy, because otherwise, or relationship, or situation with used cars, or whatever it is, what do I believe about this, and what can I change so that it doesn't continue? Speaking up for ourselves at home or at work, saying, yes, thank you, I would love to. No, thank you, that is not mine to do. Speaking up for ourselves sometimes requires courage, but it's so important. Making, then keeping the doctor's appointment. We are whole, complete, and perfect. The physical part of us is whole, complete, and perfect, and we absolutely know that and accept that, but we also come from that place of wisdom and discernment, and so when it's time to go and get whatever it is looked at, it's important that we do that. And when we get the discernment, it's important for us to do that and take care of ourselves. Forgiving requires courage, and keeping in mind that forgiveness is very often a process, not an event. So we don't wave the magic wand and say, okay, they're forgiven. Sometimes it requires us to do some work, and that's okay, but we get to do that. Sometimes it's putting one foot in front of the other after a heartbreaking loss. Requires courage to get up and say, I'm going to keep going. And then saying yes to what makes our heart sing, what we're led to do, what we just really want to do, be, or have, even though we don't know all the details. We know we're going to get to the ocean, but we keep flowing. We keep going with the river so that we can get there. Included in courage, in that divine discontent that we're acting on, in that mystery, is probably the experience of fear. I don't know how to do this. I am afraid that I'm going to look like a fool. I'm afraid that it's not going to work out for me. And fear can keep us paralyzed in a situation that we had the opportunity to get out of, or keep us from experiencing all the wonder of this most amazing life. So I have a great quote for you. This is from the book When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. She writes, "No one ever tells us to stop running from fear. We're very rarely told to move closer, just to be there, to become familiar with fear. But the advice we usually get is to sweeten it up, smooth it over, take a pill, or distract ourselves, but by all means make it go away. The practice is to understand it is not about slaying the monster, it's about learning to lead the dance with the monster. If we're ever to master the art of living peacefully, purposefully, creatively, courageously, and joyfully in the midst of uncertainty, there's no question that fear is the boogeyman we have to face first. This requires us to dance cheek to cheek with our demons rather than running from them. If we're willing to listen, fear can be a great messenger to get our attention and can even serve us well in certain circumstances." I have to go home and watch Monsters, Inc. Do you remember the animated movie? And I have Mike at home, and I forgot to bring Mike with me this morning. But remember, Mike Wazowski is the big, scary, blue, furry monster, John Goodman's voice, and he's really scary, and he's a pussycat. And so, what's that fear? I'd really love to do that, but I'd really love to have that, but I don't know. It's the sacred I don't know. It's the luscious I don't know. I don't know how to do this, but as I state my intention and say, and so it is, something happens. And that something is Spirit, the universe, the infinite, the divine, saying, okay, so if this is what you want, do this. Go here. Have this that moves us forward in the direction of that dream, and all of a sudden, there it is. Always divinely guided. Always, always, always. My the company that I worked for many years ago, one of my managers, we were talking about something, I forget what it was, and she said, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And maybe you've heard that expression. And what I suggest for us is it's all about doing the dance with what we believe the devil to be and recognizing that it, more often than not, really is a Mike Wazowski. It's really just a loving, furry, scary-looking monster that isn't anything at all. So we can walk through this, continue, because if we've got a burning desire to have something or get something or go someplace or move someplace or whatever the case might be, there must be a way for that to happen for us. And if we've never done it before, maybe that's all the excuse we need. Well, we don't need an excuse, but maybe that's all the motivation we need. I have no idea how to do this. And that's enough of a motivator to get the universe off the dime. And because life is saying, okay, whatever you want, and we can do the same thing over and over again, and we can live an average life and just be okay, or we can live this most extraordinary life, and life with a capital L says, okay, whatever you want. I'll support you in whatever you choose to do. So, I was speaking about probably 7 months ago, and I said, I want a Tesla. I want a Tesla, a white Tesla Model Y, the little SUV. I have no idea. I don't know how it works. I don't know how you plug it in. I don't know, do they make long extension cords? I don't know how to do this, but I just have a burning desire to do this. And to make a long story even longer, when you leave this morning, as you walk out the front door, there in that second parking place is my Tesla. Thank you very much. Because we state our intention and then allow, because that's all we're ever doing. And if that doesn't light you up, that's absolutely fine. But whatever it is, we state our intention then and allow life to say, well, let me help you with that. Let me show you the direction you need to flow to make that happen. Of course. And if we've never done it before, and if we don't know how to do it, and we have no clue, as I didn't and still don't, that's all the more delicious because we get to learn. And life says, well, we'll get people to help you, and we'll get situations to help you, and we'll do all of that. That's how it works in the new whatever. That's the deliciousness of this, in this mystery and this I don't know, because we don't have to know. All we know is this is what we want, this is our destination, and allow life to lead us in that direction. So it requires change. Very often it requires stepping out of our comfort, because I got no comfort related to this. It requires allowing ourselves to step out of what we've done before and out of our comfort zone and into something new. And after we state our intention, we might go home and think, why in the world? What, do you really? And our children might say, really? And our spouses might say, really? And it doesn't matter, because we're working with what our heart is calling us to do, be, or have, not somebody else. So, an absolutely great book that I found many years ago, How to Find God in Everything by Emoda May Javine. And she writes, every experience of your life is a calling from God. Every experience, whether it be pleasurable or painful, is an invitation to embrace the fullness and depth of this moment as it is now. Deep intimacy with this moment offers the promise of liberation. It is an invitation to your true nature. Beyond appearances, beyond what comes and goes, is the you that does not change, the you that is neither this nor that, but simply is. You cannot find this part of you by looking into the future or dwelling in the past. Time is an illusion that takes you away from the reality of now. The truth of who you are can only be found in the absolute presence of this moment, and in this moment you are whole. There is nothing that can be taken away or added. And in this moment you are holy. You're not separate from the sacredness of spirit. You are, in fact, a divine creation of unlimited potential, for God is your essential nature and mine and everyone else's too. So Tesla has an app. Of course, everybody has an app, and an app on your smartphone, and that's where you do the music, and you set the air conditioning and do all these things. And before you get the car, it tells you the progress. And it was a birthing process because it was just about 9 months, and so 3 times a day I'm clicking, and okay, so now it's 8 months away, and now it's 7 months away, and well, what am I going to do? How do I charge it? I mean, how do I do this? And the still small voice says, when you need to know, you'll know. When you need to know. How often do we get involved in that trap of, oh God, but I gotta go. No, you don't. When the time is, when you need to know that, when you need to do that, you'll be divinely guided and you'll know what to do and do that. What do we settle for because we don't know the details? Yes, thank you. Because we don't know the details. Louise Hay once said or wrote, "I am safe, it's only change." All of us, in one form or another, have experienced this thing called change. And through it all, we are safe. Sometimes it's a change that we orchestrate because we want to step into that greater experience in our lives. Sometimes it's not. But we are safe. It's only change. Rain and snow, to river, to ocean, to cloud, to rain and snow, to ocean, to cloud. It's all just water. It's all, and the truth of us is, it does not change. The truth of us does not change. So can we allow ourselves to say, this is what I really want? I don't know how to do it, but I know it's possible because it's my heart's desire, and somehow, some way, I will be supported in doing what I need to do to make this happen. Can we lead the dance with the monster that is fear and feel it, experience it, look at it, and keep dancing? Can we allow the sacred I don't know? I don't know how to do that. And when I need to know, I'll know because of that connection with, because of our oneness, my oneness and your oneness with Spirit. So I love Facebook. You've heard me say that before, and you'll hear me say it again. And I am not a stockholder, and I have no emotional attachment, but there's just the coolest stuff on Facebook, and there's some goofy stuff, and so that's why God made scrolling, so you just keep scrolling. But I want to close with this quote. This is by Topher Kirby that I posted on my Facebook page this morning. Do not run from more because more is difficult. Do not settle for how it is because you're afraid to see how it may end up. Do not fear. You are more than ready for anything. So what are we ready for? Are we ready for that greater financial abundance? Are we ready for that new relationship? Are we ready for that new job? Are we ready for that new Tesla? Whatever it is, or that trip to who knows where, Bora Bora, whatever it is, life always says yes. And we don't need to get involved in the bits and pieces, because we'll know what we need to know when we need to know it. So with that in mind, join me in the light for just a minute. So in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we allow ourselves to be reminded of our oneness with the God presence, with one another, and with all of life. And we give great thanks for the opportunity to be reminded of this today, to be reminded of the example of water that just flows. It flows over hard surfaces and creates a way. It flows over rocks and makes rivers and streams and canyons. And as we are reminded of that example in nature, we see that we have that opportunity as well. So we choose this most amazing life, releasing what happened before, releasing thoughts of limitation or struggle or fear, and allowing ourselves to step into the next chapter of this most greatest life, knowing that Spirit, always coming from love, says yes. And we respond with, yes, thank you, and more please. So for this beloved spiritual community, for our time together today, for the coolness of this room, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is. Thanks, everybody.
Well then, you guys ready? That's the band. And Martin, you know that if my voice isn't balanced with everything else, you've got the control to turn it up. So, thanks. Try this again. Don't know why it's doing this, but it does sometimes. This is a song called Anything, which is what you can do. Like the man who walks the tightrope without a net below. Like a paratrooper leaves the plane and yells Geronimo. Like the mate of every soldier awaits their safe return. The beliefs that any holy man has been inspired to learn. Like the faith that moves a mountain, or the dream to which you cling. With faith like that behind you, you can do anything. Like the prince in Sleeping Beauty, the princess and the frog, a mother and her newborn baby, a young boy and his dog. Like a prisoner loves his freedom, and a cheetah loves the chase. Pessimists love being dreary, optimist, the human race. And a sailor loves the steady wind, like a songbird loves to sing. With love like that behind you, you can do anything. Anything you ever wanted, anything you'll ever need. The limitations live in your mind. Get rid of those and you will find you surely can do anything. What I'm saying may seem strange to you, the ravings of a loon, like I'm living in some fantasy world, some weird and whack cartoon. If you think that world can never be, just know that you are right. 'Cause when you keep your blinders on, you keep the vision out of sight. But tomorrow is another day, and whatever it may bring, with a chance like that, I'm ready, not afraid of anything. Anything you ever wanted, anything you'll ever need. The limitations live in your mind. Get rid of those and you will find anything you ever wanted, anything you'll ever need. The limitations live in your mind. Get rid of those and you will find you surely can, you surely can, you surely can do anything. Anything. You really can do anything. Anything.